Funny how my mom was always broke when it came to me, but found 30 grand in a heartbeat when my sister decided to get married. Hi, I'm Emily, and this is the story of the daughter who kept hearing, "You're strong, you'll figure it out," until she disappeared for 7 years and came back wearing a badge that said, "Owner, grab your coffee," because this story, there's no happy ending for those who only value you after you're gone. My name is Emily Harper, and in my family, I was always the one who had to understand. You're the oldest, Emily. You have to set the example. That phrase echoed through our house like background noise. I was the one who wore hand-me-downs, gave up my bedroom when guests came, stayed quiet while my younger sister, Madison, got to shine. At first, I thought it was normal. Over time, I realized it wasn't just imbalance. It was preference. Loud, obvious, and painful. I remember my 10th birthday. I wanted a science kit. I got a used backpack and a cupcake from the grocery store. When Madison turned 10, my parents rented out a hall, hired a photographer, decorated the room, and gave her a 3-tier cake with her name in gold. "She's just so outgoing," my mom said, fixing my hair. "You never really liked parties, right?" I smiled. I always smiled, and shrank a little more inside. As we grew up, the gap between us turned into a canyon. Madison got braces, a brand new iPhone, and a car for her sweet 16. I got an old laptop that froze on the startup screen. When I asked for anything, the answer was always the same. "Not right now, Em. Things are tight." But they weren't tight for her. Only for me. Once, I asked for help with a study abroad trip. It was a simple program, partially funded. All I needed was help with the flight. My mom didn't think twice. "You dream too big, sweetheart. Be realistic." A week later, Madison showed up with a brand new dress for a school party. Same cost as my ticket. When I asked about it, my dad replied flatly, "She needed it." I never needed anything. When my power was shut off in my first apartment due to a late bill, I asked for help, just once. They sent me a WhatsApp sticker that said, "Everyone carries their own cross." That same month, Madison replaced the tires on her car, paid for by my parents. She even joked, "You should get a car too, Em. One that actually works." I laughed on the outside. Inside, it hurt to breathe. But the worst part wasn't the money. It was the feeling of being invisible, of having nowhere to turn, of knowing that no matter how hard I tried, I'd never be enough. My grades were flawless. My work was praised. But my mom's eyes only lit up when she talked about Madison. It felt like I existed just to fill the background, never to take center stage. Last Christmas, I cooked dinner all by myself. I brought it to their house, hoping, once again, to belong. They said thank you. But during the toast, they praised our shining star, Madison, for being engaged to an engineer. She always knew what she wanted, my mom said. And me, I just looked down and kept carving the turkey. There's one sentence I'll never forget. It came at the end of that night. Madison and I were doing the dishes together. She looked at me and said, like she was commenting on the weather, "You've always been different, Em. Like, the sad part of the story." She didn't say it with hate. She said it like it was just a fact. And somehow, that made it hurt even more. That night, I made a promise to myself. I would stop trying to fit into a space they never wanted me in. I didn't know how yet, but from that moment on, I was going to build a place of my own, even if it had to start in silence. It was early spring when Madison announced her wedding. And just like everything about her, it came with fanfare. A custom-named WhatsApp group, gold-lettered invitations, even a video montage of the proposal, complete with background music and mountaintop drone shots. I found out through the family group chat. No heads up, no one-on-one conversation. Just a link and a heart emoji. Amid all the excitement, one message stuck with me. "It'll be an outdoor ceremony with white flowers. We hired a planner. Mom's covering $30,000 of the budget." $30,000. From the same woman who told me, just a month earlier, that she couldn't help with a $300 online course. Things are tight right now, sweetheart. I remember those exact words. I tried to swallow the bitterness. I promised myself I wouldn't let it get to me. Then, days later, the formal invitation arrived. My name was spelled wrong. Emily. One single line underneath read, "Seat reserved in the back row." That's when it hit me. I wasn't part of the ceremony. I was just tolerated. The forgotten sister. The quiet embarrassment. I thought about not going. Really thought about it. But some tiny part of me still hoped something might change. So I messaged my mom. "If you need help with anything, I'm around." She replied 3 days later. No punctuation. No warmth. "Madison already has helped, thanks." And just like that, I felt like an outsider. Like I had offered myself to a party I was never meant to attend. With only days left before the wedding, I still tried to be involved. I made a personalized card and bought her a small gift with what little I had. A simple necklace with their initials. When I gave it to her, she smiled politely and said, "Ah, cute. But I'll just wear it on the honeymoon, okay? I already have jewelry for the day." That was it. That was the moment I let go. For good. The day of the wedding was bright and warm, the decor flawless. The venue looked like something out of a movie. Every detail screamed luxury. The flowers, the dress, the crystal glasses, all perfectly staged. And me. I took my place in the very last row. No one came to hug me. No one looked for me. Not my mom. Not my dad. I was a blurry photo in the family album. During the toast, Madison took the mic and thanked everyone. She mentioned her fiancé, the bridal party, even the event planner. She thanked our parents for making her dream come true. My eyes welled up. For a second, I thought, maybe she'd acknowledge me. Say something. Anything. But she didn't. Just more smiles that floated past me like I wasn't even there. As we were leaving, my mom finally walked up to me. I thought, maybe now. But all she said was, "Wasn't everything beautiful? Thank God Madison has us." I smiled and replied, "She really does." Because in that moment I understood. That one sentence said everything. And it hurt, like an old scar ripped open. That night I walked home. Alone. The necklace I gave her still in my purse. No note. No thank you. No place. It felt like I'd only been invited to confirm, once again, that I was never really part of their story. 2 days after the wedding, my phone buzzed with a message from my mom. I was doing the dishes, still trying to wash off the bitter taste of that day. I opened the notification hoping for a "thanks for coming," or maybe even "it was nice to see you." But no, it was short, cold, like a receipt printed with no ink. "Emily, can you send me $50? I'm heading to the store and I'm short." I read it 3 times, thinking I misunderstood. $50. After watching her spend $30,000 on Madison's wedding, she had the nerve to ask me for 50, as if nothing about that was wrong. My stomach turned, not because of the amount itself, but because of what it meant. When I needed help for a $300 professional course, she couldn't afford it. When my fridge broke down, it was a tough time for everyone. But now, for a grocery run? She thought I'd just hand it over. I didn't reply right away. I stared at the message with burning eyes. It wasn't just a text. It was a perfect summary of my role in this family. The emergency contact. The one they remember when something's missing. The one who never receives, but is always expected to give. As if my time, my effort, and my money meant less than theirs. I finally replied, "I can't, Mom." Just that. Short. Firm. But it hit like a brick. My heart raced as I watched the typing dots appear. Her answer came fast. "Oh, okay. Just thought since you work, you could help." It felt like she called me selfish, without saying the word. And maybe that's exactly what she meant. I started remembering all the times I asked for help and got ignored. When I had to choose between paying the electric bill or eating for a week. When I walked 2 miles because I couldn't afford the bus. When I sold my laptop to make rent. And none of those times did my mom feel like she could help. But now, because I work, and look like I'm doing fine, I'm suddenly her safety net. The irony is, I knew deep down, if Madison had asked for $50, Mom would have sent $200 and asked if she needed anything else. With Madison, everything's urgent. Everything's important. With me, it's always, you're strong, you'll figure it out. And maybe that's what hurts the most. They use my strength as a reason not to care for me. That night, I sat on the couch with my phone in my hands and a lump in my throat. I opened my photo gallery and started deleting every picture from the wedding. One by one, as if it could delete the pain too. It didn't. It just made the emptiness clearer. I realized how tired I was. Tired of being the mature one. Tired of always understanding. Tired of being the easy daughter. For the first time, I let myself ask something I always pushed away. What if I just disappeared? What if I stopped trying? Stopped showing up? Stopped justifying myself? Would they even notice? Would they care? Or would they only realize something was missing? When no one was there to send the $50. And right then, in the silence of that night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg for space anymore. I wasn't going to beg for love. If my presence was so disposable, then let it be gone for good. Because sometimes, to survive, you have to walk away from the table, where you were never given a seat. The final straw wasn't the $50 message. It was Sunday lunch. I went, even though everything in me didn't want to. I sat at the table, surrounded by loud voices and fake cheer, the kind where everyone's talking, but no one's looking at you. Madison went on and on about her honeymoon plans in Aspen. Laughter. Toasts. Celebration. I tried to share a project I'd been working on, but my dad raised his hand and cut me off. Later, Emily. Madison's still talking. Like my voice didn't belong. Like I was interrupting a performance. After lunch, my mom pulled me aside. She said I'd been acting difficult, that I was bringing the mood down, ever since the wedding. You need to learn to be happy for other people's successes, she said, as if all my pain came from jealousy. I froze, because she believed that, as if the problem wasn't the injustice, but my reaction to it. When I was leaving, Madison hugged me and said, almost casually, "You've always been like the gray part of our family," and laughed like it was nothing. I stood there, arms limp, heart sinking. I didn't cry. I just thought, she's right. And right then, the decision was born. I didn't want to belong to this anymore. The following week, I quit my job, sold my furniture, ended my lease. I called a college friend who lived out of state. She said I could stay with her. So I left. No goodbye letters. No messages. No explanations. I put my phone on airplane mode indefinitely. The Emily who used to beg to be seen. She died at that dinner table. I stayed away from my family for 7 years. No calls. No emails. No visits. And surprisingly, they never looked for me either. I was forgotten as easily as I was ignored. But something changed during those years. I grew. I started as a bakery cashier, then launched a small video channel with simple tips. And it went viral. Soon, people knew my name, not as Madison's sister, but as someone who built a life from scratch. With growth came opportunities, brand deals, partnerships, new doors. What started as survival became a business. I co-founded a healthy food company with a friend. We worked hard, really hard, and eventually, it was time to expand. We looked at several locations. One of the best options, a small, rundown grocery store. In the town where I grew up. I chose it, not because I missed anything, but because it made sense. Strategically, I knew exactly what I was walking into. I remembered every street around it, and I knew, sooner or later, someone from the past might walk in. And I was ready, because this time, I wasn't the forgotten daughter. I was the owner, the woman who built it all with no applause, no help, no spotlight. I didn't change the store's name. I didn't want to erase anything. If anything, I wanted the neighborhood to feel it was still theirs, just with a new story. My story. I started renovations, kept the soul of the place, added new products, trained a small team. And then, on a regular rainy Wednesday. She walked in, my mom, standing at the checkout, asking for a discount on a pack of chicken, like life had hit rewind, but flipped the scene. And the wildest part, she still had no idea who owned the place. She walked in slowly, rain dripping from her coat, a reusable bag in her hands. She wore the same worn-out shoes I remembered from Sunday church. My heart started racing, but my face didn't change. I was in the back of a store, restocking a new shelf of organic goods. I just stood there, watching silently. The same woman who once sent me a sticker saying, "Everyone carries their own cross," was now counting coins on her fingers. At the register, Sarah, the new cashier, remained gentle. "That'll be $47.75, ma'am." My mom reached into her bag, pulled out a few wrinkled bills and coins, and said with a tired smile, "Can we take the milk off? I don't think I've got enough." Sarah paused for a second, then replied kindly, "Would you like me to ask the manager if we can give you a discount? The owner usually approves it in these cases." My mother nodded, clearly embarrassed. That's when Sarah turned and looked at me. I walked toward them slowly without hurry. When my mom saw me, it took a second, then another. Her eyes widened. Her mouth dropped slightly. And then she said my name, barely a whisper. "Emily!" Like she was seeing a ghost. Like, for a moment, time had frozen. Right there between the chicken and the milk she couldn't afford. I didn't say a word. I just gave a faint smile and asked, "Do you still want the milk?" She didn't answer. Just stared at me with glassy eyes, as if all her guilt and disbelief were stuck in her throat. Sarah sensed the shift and quietly stepped away, leaving us alone in the canned goods aisle. The sound of rain tapping on the awning outside was the only thing left in the world. "You're the owner here?" she asked, still not quite believing it. I nodded. "How long have you been here?" I took a slow breath, long enough to know that life doesn't have to be loud to be big. She looked down, fidgeting with her bag strap. She didn't say sorry. She didn't try to explain. Maybe because she knew no words would undo what had been done. She offered me the money she still held in her hand, like a symbolic gesture to pay for the milk. I gently pushed it back. "No need." Then I looked her straight in the eyes and added, "The difference between us is I never needed you to become who I am, but you still haven't learned how to see me." That moment wasn't about revenge. It was about release. I didn't need her to beg. I didn't want to see her humiliated. I just wanted to be there, whole, steady, grounded, on the very floor where I was once told I'd never have worth. And there I was, standing tall. No applause, but full of dignity. She left the store in silence, carrying her bags with more weight on her shoulders than when she walked in. She didn't look back, and I didn't follow. I just took a deep breath and returned to the back of the store. Sarah glanced at me, curious but respectful. "Was that someone important to you?" I smiled. She was, and went right back to folding dish towels in the organic section. The next day, she came back. She didn't come inside. She just stood there under the awning, holding an envelope and wearing the face of someone who's carried too much for too long. I saw her on the security cameras before I stepped out. She looked up when I approached, tried to smile, but gave up halfway through. "Do you have a minute?" I nodded, and we stood there, face to face, in front of the very store she once believed I was never capable of running. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," she began, eyes fixed on the ground. "I didn't realize how much I hurt you. We always just thought you were too strong to need anything." That sentence cut like a dull blade. Too strong to need anything. That's what they stole from me. The right to be cared for, to be someone's daughter, to be vulnerable. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just listened. She kept talking, trying to fill the silence. She spoke about how hard things had been, how she regretted so much, how there were nights she wanted to call me but didn't have the courage. Said she'd seen some of my videos, that she was touched, that she felt proud. But standing there, I was no longer the daughter hoping for an apology. I was a woman who had learned to stand on her own. "I know it might be too late," she said, and I gently interrupted. It is. But it doesn't have to be bitter. She nodded, emotional, then held out the envelope. It's not much. Just a way to say thank you for yesterday. For the milk. For not saying anything. For not shaming me. I opened it slowly. A few bills inside. $50. The same 50 from before. But now, they carried a different weight. Mom, I said. The first time in years I used that word without bitterness. This 50, it was never just about the money. She looked at me, confused. That day wasn't about the dollars. It was about what they stood for. Everything you chose to give to her. And not to me. All the times you said no, not because you couldn't, but because you didn't want to. She began to cry, silently. And I let her. Because that was hers to carry. I don't hold hatred, I continued. But I've learned some wounds don't heal with apologies. They heal with distance. I had to leave to find out who I was. Without all of you. She nodded, tears still falling. And now? She asked. Now? I took a deep breath. Now I live my life. With or without you. But in peace. We said goodbye right there. A brief hug. No promises. She walked away. I stayed. I went back inside, opened the drawer, and placed the $50 inside. Then, with a permanent marker I wrote, symbolic value, a reminder of who I'll never be again. I closed the drawer, and knew this chapter was done. That night, I sat in my tiny office with a warm cup of coffee, and posted a single line. It was never about the money. It was about silence, denial, and choice. I stopped knocking on the wrong door. Now I am my own home. And for the first time in a very, very long time, I went to sleep in peace. If you liked the story, leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, and if you want to help me keep telling these stories, you can buy me a coffee. The link is there in the first pinned comment. Every cup helps me keep bringing you more stories.